On the surface of things, most Kiwi farms are pretty neat and tidy places. Green rolling hills, contented animals, and clear streams make up the popular vision of agricultural life. The reality is, of course, vastly removed from that ideal. As inputs on the farm like supplementary feed, fertilisers and disease controls increase, so too does the production of waste. This high input, high output system of farming is giving rise to a new breed of companies designed to reduce and reuse recyclable farming products. Agrecovery is a charitable trust supported by more than 50 of the country's largest rural services companies. It's one of the many players in an emerging industry, breaking new ground in the country which prides itself on being clean and green. Gareth Menser is Agrecovery's National Operations Manager and says the project reflects the need for give and take from our biggest agricultural companies.
When the program started, there were 12 brand owners. In the past 4 years, we've had another 40 come on board, so we've got 52 participating brand owners now. So those brand owners are taking a position saying that the waste that's created as a byproduct of their chemicals and chemical containers needs to be recovered, so they participate in the program.
Agrecovery operates nationwide, taking tens of thousands of tonnes in plastic and chemical waste free of charge from farmers everywhere. The company runs 3 main recycling programs: the collection and processing of plastic silage wrap, agricultural chemicals, and the containers they come in. It's recycling, but not as we know it.
It's not like recycling, you're taking a product back, but it's that whole life cycle approach and engaging people right throughout the supply chain. So that's the manufacturers right through to the end user, and that's what Agrecovery is great at. You intertwine 52 brand owners, users, and then processing requirements to make sure that it's a program that's sustainable in the long term.
And there's plenty of room for further expansion. The use of plastics and other non-biodegradable waste products on farm in New Zealand is increasing every single year. For instance, Kiwi farmers annually go through enough plastic silage wrap to go around the world 8 times. It's numbers like these that has the international community seriously worried about agricultural recycling. The worldwide environmental standards for recycling are set by the ISO and were endorsed by more than 150 countries in 1996. The standards require participating countries to ensure primary production is sustainable and environmentally friendly. No easy task in a country as diverse as ours. Agrecovery seems to be ticking all the right boxes though, running the program according to Ministry of the Environment standards and drawing support from most major producers of the stuff they're collecting. The project, and indeed the growing sector of agricultural recycling, has also got the tick from the country's largest farming lobby group.
The sign of a mature country is one that doesn't have plastic lying around everywhere.
Philip York says the feds have long been concerned about the burning or burying of plastic sheeting, chemicals and other on-farm waste, standard practice until recently.
I think it's important that we do encourage people to recycle any plastic that they've got. The alternative is a burning or burying it, and as such we don't think that's particularly a safe option, but I think that the schemes out there that are particularly some that have been paid for through levies on the chemical manufacturers, we should make full use of it.
Instead of burning or burying their waste, farmers can now take containers to one of Agrecovery's 70 designated drop-off sites around the country. From there, everything is inspected at least twice to ensure no chemical residue or sediment remains on the containers, which are then cleared for processing. Agrecovery's inspection team rarely encounters problems with the containers themselves, saying farmers learn fast.
It takes a bit of time for them to get used to the criteria, but it's important that the inspection side of it is, as I said, international best practice. For us to operate in international markets, we have to have these programs. We have to have the inspection criteria. It's to safeguard the farmer as well as ourselves that we're not dealing with, for the containers program, we don't deal with the chemical residue. It's purely the triple rinsed agrochemical container. And that's what we say with the containers, that it has to be triple rinsed when it comes in.
Every year, the number of those farmers participating increases, and the job of processing gets bigger and bigger. So Gareth, how much plastic are we looking at here behind us?
Behind us we've got about 2,000 kilos of shredded plastic, so that's been collected at various collection sites around the North Island. Represents in 20 litre equivalents about 2,000 containers, but in actual fact you're probably looking at between 3,000 and 5,000 containers that are shredded. We'll shred anything between 1 and 60 litres as long as it meets our acceptance criteria.
From this state, the former plastic containers will meet their fate inside Astron's processing plant in South Auckland. Gareth explains the various stages of that process. The process from this, what happens to it in the next stage?
Our driver shreds on site, so we shredded the material through a two-stage shredder. It then turns up at Astron, where we are now, and at that size. So Astron then take the plastic, they granulate it, so it's granulated, turns into a smaller size, and then they, through their processes, extrude it, then melt, so then it's melted, turns into a resin, which is dyed black, and then that is turned into underground cable cover.
So what starts out as a farmer's chemical container could well end up protecting our underground data cables. And of course that couldn't be reused in a consumer environment, could it?
You've got agrochemical containers that, even after a triple rinsing process, will still have a potential chemical residue. The plastic does absorb some of the chemical, so the underground cable cover is away from human contact. It's an end use that, as you've said, is in high demand, and that can continue to be used. The truck services the entire country, so it's based out of Hastings. He will go down to the South Island. Now with the increase in volume in the program, we'd be travelling the South Island for up to 10 to 12 days in a collection trip. And that'll be servicing from Marlborough, our collection sites there, right down to the bottom of the South Island. And we have collection sites from coast to coast.
So now, with companies like Agrecovery willing and able to process most agricultural waste, it's a fairly straightforward process for farmers to get involved.
The common practice before there was something like Agrecovery around for the collection of silage wrap was to burn it or bury it. And that was common practice on farms. I mean, at the moment we collected in our second year 10 times the volume we collected in the first year. So that's just I guess a representation of the farmers' attitudes towards using the program. Currently we have enough bags in the marketplace to recycle 500,000 round bales. That represents only about 10% of the volume that's put out nationally. So there's still a long way to go, but that indicates the increasing volumes, the attitudes of farmers to participate is certainly growing.
While Agrecovery is by no means the only company set up to deal with farm waste, it's just one example of how industry is willing to deal with the mess its products create. Part of the success of any Kiwi business is also the attitude of employees toward their work. And while they're trying to make a difference for the good of the country, Agrecovery's workers seem pretty motivated sorts.
We've got some pretty good drivers. They don't tend to take sick days. Reasonably old school, so they don't have many days off, which is good. Yeah, they get in there and get the job done.